Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to your October 2018 reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. We had all these cards come out. These ones came out upright, so I'm going to go ahead and start with those. So when we have the Emperor reversed, there is a suggestion of maybe feeling a little bit weak. Perhaps feeling a little lost, perhaps, because this card is often associated with the Aries archetype or a more fire-like quality. Whenever it gets turned upside down, sometimes we can feel a little bit misdirected. We can feel like there's all these things we want to do, but we don't have the focus, as indicated with the Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups can be a good thing, though, because it suggests a time when we really are looking at our options. It suggests a period in our life where we have a chance to feel our way through something. And even if nothing really feels right, and even if nothing really feels like, yes, that's the thing I need to do, that's, I know for 100% that's it. Even if nothing really feels like that, it is important to know or to have faith that that is coming. And you probably are experiencing some kind of a death. And when I say that, I mean like a death of a past version of yourself. Now, some of you, that's going to be really not a big deal and super easy. And then others of you, it's going to be a little bit harder. But see, what comes after the Seven of Cups is the Eight of Cups, which is a picture of a man walking away from 8 cups, right? Walking away from everything that's comfortable. So you're kind of in this period of facing everything and really trying to decide what is most in line with your purpose, what is most in line with your talents and your calling. Now, like I said before, some of you, it's not really going to be that big a deal, and you're going to be able to just kind of hang out in this place, and it's totally fine. And you know that you're going to have all this kind of Mars energy, because we do have Mars going direct in your sign now. So you have all this Mars energy, but you just might not quite know where to put it or what to do with it. See, eight of Wands. So I was just talking about the Eight of Cups. Well, here we have the Eight of Wands, which is also about movement. All of the number 8s signify some kind of movement or lack thereof. And Eight of Wands, it's like once you get out of this Seven of Cups place, once you move away from this period of confusion, you're going to have swift movement into the next phase, and you're not going to be here long. And Eight of Wands is always something that we want, right? It represents things that we want coming to us, whether it's a new job opportunity, whether it's a new romantic opportunity, whether it's just hearing from that person that you really want to hear from, right? That's what an Eight of Wands is really signifies. And sometimes there can be a lot of things that come barreling towards us. And again, if you just don't feel sure, just don't worry, because time will take care of it. That's the one thing I can always say that I know for sure. Time will take care of it. And the Emperor reverse can be disorienting, because there is still that Mars energy. You do still have that Emperor part of you, powerful, strong, determined, all these great things. But when you're just not sure what to do, or when you're feeling a bit weak, maybe there's even some kind of self-confidence issues too. Can you really do the things you want to do? Can you be the person that you really want to be? It's so important to maintain optimism. Now, I don't see pessimism coming out here, so I can surmise that optimism isn't really that hard to come by for a lot of you. It's just, you just have to think that way, See, a death. What did I just say? It is a death of a phase in your life. And it is important for you to be prepared for that. To know that you can't ever really go back to who you were before. And you are pushing through, you are pushing forward. Still, again, like I say, every single month, you have very significant 12th house activity. Plain and simple. And you've got this subconscious stuff really bubbling up. And because Pluto in the 12th house in the sign of Capricorn signifies death, well, a lot of those subconscious programmings, whether it's from previously in this lifetime or from past lifetimes, right? Maybe it's a consolidation of a lot of things. Because see, the 10 of Swords, you don't just get a 10 of Swords. It takes a long time to accrue 10 swords. It takes a long time of recurring patterns. It takes a long time of lessons. It takes a long time of just a lot of stuff. So now you've reached the end. And yeah, you might not really feel that. It might not necessarily feel comfortable. You might be kind of standing at the precipice of this new kind of era, and you're like, I don't know if I really want to move forward or not, because you are being forced to evolve. Your soul is standing there and saying, you need to change. You need to grow. You need to rise up in consciousness. See what else comes out here. See, there is a quality of loss, but it's not a loss that's, it's a loss of who you were. Because I'm not getting the energy of anyone else out here. You're going to be breaking significant patterns right now. You may be spending a lot of time thinking about the past, hopefully not too much, because there is a lot to look forward to. But you may be spending a lot of time thinking about the past. Be so careful not to beat yourselves up, right? Especially going through Virgo season, we have that tendency to just smack ourselves down. And that goes across the board. That's not just you guys, right? I mean, that's just across the board. And now we're making our way into Libra season, which is all about balance. It's about establishing balance in our life and within ourselves and with other people as well. And Temperance, I'm so happy Temperance has been coming out, because it gives everything a nice, softer edge where, this could be kind of harsh, this could be kind of harsh, and so can this. Well, here comes Temperance that shows and showcases your draw toward peace. And there's going to be this inner drive inside of you that says, what can I do and how can I go about doing this in the most peaceful way? Because sometimes when we get caught in a 7 of Cups situation and we feel like we've got all these things in front of us, we can then in turn make rash decisions. But this is such a chill out vibe. The triangle on the chest of the angel here signifying the balance between the head, heart, and the gut, right? The stomach, the gut center. And I say this a lot, it's kind of when you have a detective who says, I've got a gut feeling about this, it's a intelligence center of our being. And so it is important to incorporate that, right? Our third chakra. It's so critical, so important for that to be incorporated in our day-to-day decisions. And really that's where it comes from first. Most often. And then our head and our heart got to kind of catch up with our gut. And the sun symbol, you can see the little circle with the dot sitting there on his forehead, signifying, that symbol is of the sun. And being on the third eye, it represents the illumination of the third eye chakra, the illumination of the pineal gland, which is our consciousness, right? Our consciousness receptivity center. So you are experiencing growing pains. And it is okay to feel like there is some kind of loss. It is okay for you to reflect on the past. However, I would really recommend, being very extra or a lot extra careful on dwelling on the past. Reflection is healthy. Dwelling can be unhealthy. You are in for massive changes. And I think 2019 is going to be all about you implementing those. I'm very excited for my Aquarians, specifically my Aquarian ascendants, because there's no way that the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in January 2020, there's no way that you guys are going to come out of that the same. There's no way that your lives aren't going to change in a really big positive way. And you're going to be making a lot of psychological breakthroughs over the course of the next year. You're going to be breaking a whole bunch of patterns that have been unhealthy for you. And if you've already been doing that, great. That pathway is now free and clear for you to just invite anything and anything you want. Anything that you feel that you need in this life. There's a messenger quality here too with Temperance that I rarely talk about. It's almost like an archangel quality, like Gabriel or something. I'm not too familiar with the archangels there, but there's a protective quality. Guardian angel. Someone is watching over you. Be careful not to play the victim. Okay? I think a lot of I don't really have a lot of Aquarian sun friends. I have a couple, but I tend to have a lot of Aquarian moon friends. That's like a big thing for me, Aquarian moon friends. And specifically Aquarian moons, there's a big gap. There's a big divide. Some of them are like feeling the most positive that they've ever felt in like years. And then there's a couple of them that are just really kind of sinking and sagging a little bit. But the good thing I love about Aquarian moons is they tend to move on pretty quick. They don't really dwell the way like a water sign like a Scorpio moon or something can dwell, which is good. So that works to your benefit. That works to your favor. So let's see here what else comes out for my Aquarius people. If you have an Aquarius moon, you and I would probably vibe like big time. I actually counted. I have 4 really close friends that I contact on a consistent basis with Aquarian moons. And then I have a couple other extraneous ones. So we get the Fool and we get the 6 of Swords. See, this is also perfectly in line with the 8 of Wands. So there's a duality going on, of course, which is perfectly natural. There's the caution. And there's the motion. One foot in front of the other, one day at a time kind of energy. Look, I think I'm getting a feeling of, like, so I said this in a couple other signs. Sorry if you're hearing a repeat of this. But I was watching a couple weeks ago the movie The Departed, which is a Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon movie. It's an older movie. And Leonardo DiCaprio plays an undercover cop. He's undercover in the Irish mafia. And he's going into the police force psychiatrist to kind of talk about some stuff. And he's like, look, most days my heart is jacked. But in spite of that, I have a steady hand. And that's kind of, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a 6 of Swords energy. Being in the rough waters and yet smooth sailing forward. And sometimes when we find ourselves in this kind of confusing, sort of upheaval kind of place, or even if there's just one thing in your life that you're not feeling super secure on, I'm talking about this in terms of it being like a ton of things, but it might not be manifesting as a ton of things for you. It could just be a feeling about one thing, like, do I relocate? Should I move in with this guy, or whatever it is, right? And you're having all this mixed bag of feelings, and it may be causing some anxiety there. But this is a signifier that you're super on point and you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. The spiritual evolution is happening in spite of maybe you feeling like it's not. And because we've got Mars coming through your sign, now I love Mars transits personally. Like just recently with my Mars in Virgo, I had the Sun come conjunct my natal Mars. And I feel like a Mars-Sun conjunction really does give you that burst of energy. It makes you super productive. It gets your mind going. You get really creative. And there's this push to really do stuff. That's what Mars is, right? It's the energy that we use to do stuff. And so there is this tendency back there, but when you don't really know what you want to do, it can kind of put you in kind of a weird position. So we have the Fool, and I think actually more than anything, it's a recommendation, right? To just take it one day at a time. It would be really haphazard and maybe a little bit irresponsible for you to just jump in with both feet into something with a full-on commitment right now. That would not be your best bet. Your best bet would to be like, let's see how this plays out, right? Because an Emperor upright is in an attack mode, but when he's reversed, he holds back. And we just had the Mars retrograde thing, so there's probably still some fallout from that. Then, like, the dust needs to settle, which is what I always say with the Seven of Cups. The dust needs to settle first. So it is going to be important for you to just one day at a time, and to make sure that your mind is smooth before making big decisions. Okay, Page of Swords. Oh, see, in the Eight of Cups, what did I just say? I manifested that, I think. So we have the Eight of Wands. And then we have the Eight of Cups, but reversed. So you're still kind of, I think, more leaning into the Seven of Cups energy rather than the movement energy, which is totally fine. Eight of Cups reversed just suggests that there's a lack of readiness, and that's going to change in time, right? Please keep in mind, this is just a temporary reading. It's meant for the month of October, or like Libra season, right? Starting now and then into the end of October there. So it's not going to be like this all month, and it's not going to be like this for the rest of the year. It's going to be changing. But I think if you were to make major decisions right now, that you would be self-sabotaging a little bit, because this still needs to heal, obviously. Like, you're still working on getting that stuff out of your back there. Maybe you are feeling like, I see this as actually a more Gemini quality, more so than any of the other archetypes, even though it's not technically Gemini. That has nothing to do with it. But I do see it more like that. More, sorry. Turn that off. I do see it as being more buoyant and kind of rambunctious. I see my Page of Swords as very curious, and he's always my student of the tarot as well. So when he comes out, it's an indication of learning and intellect and using your intellect as well. You may be hearing from someone. There is an air sign quality. Okay, I know you're Aquarius air, but there could be someone else in your periphery that you may be connecting with or hearing from. And again, the Gemini archetype as well is all about connections and being within your community, whether it's your friends community, quote unquote, or whoever, and just reaching out via text message or whatever, and just kind of putting the feelers out there and touching base with people, because the page or the page-like energy helps us to see things from new perspectives. And sometimes when we reach out to friends, we reach out to people that care about us, they do help us to put things in a more real kind of space, because sometimes we can spin out of control with this, especially when it's coupled with a 10 and a 5. It's in our best interest to just cool off before we dive in, right? As we see with the Fool reversed. Seven of Swords too. So let's pull out one more. So I know you guys are going crazy, right? I know you've got a lot to think about. I know you've got a lot on your mind. See, but you have to be careful. You can't go into the future totally blind. You have to have your eyes open. And as much as you might remember what I said, don't be careful not to play the victim role, because sometimes with the 10 of Swords, it can be like a martyr quality. And that's not in your best interest. It's not for your overall health. The 9 of Swords, Again, it's a very Gemini-like quality. It's the mind racing, things kind of just going out of control. And you could be blowing things out of proportion with the 9 of Swords coupled with the 7 of Swords as well. Look, the one thing you really need to keep in mind, again, it's all about perspective, as we see with the page. And I don't mean to diminish what you've been through or anything like that, but no one really cares. Like, no one cares what you do with your life. No one really cares what this is, what your choice, what choice you make, So the only one really putting pressure on yourself is yourself. It's not coming from anyone else. And you can choose to do this to yourself because it is only you doing that. This isn't being caused by someone else. Now, someone else's behavior might be shitty. 7 of Swords, you may have had some kind of deceitful behavior. Maybe someone lied to you. Maybe someone betrayed you or whatever. But just because maybe they did something doesn't mean that you have to dwell here. If anything, if you had someone nasty that did something mean in your life, and you go here, all it's doing is feeding the betrayal. All it's doing is feeding the negativity. That's all it's doing. So you're just giving more energy to that. But you don't have to. Now, I know how hard it is to get out of a 9 of Swords. I do. I know. I was that girl in yoga class, laying down in Savasana and not able to hold still, right? Scratching my nose, scratching my back, my mind going crazy, bursting out in tears because I've been there, okay? And I know how hard it is to break this cycle. But the fact of the matter is, Page of Swords, is the way to break through this is to think about your thinking. Let your mind go crazy, but to not become so engrossed in it. You can go into this, that's fine, but go into it with your eyes open, right? Take your hand off of your eyes and look at the swords. And that's kind of the first step of raising your awareness and operating from a higher level, conscious level. So clearly there's a lot to really talk about in the comprehensive section. But for those of you who aren't interested, let me just leave you with one last piece of advice. Time heals. So if you don't feel ready to make any major decision right now, don't. Okay? And it's fine. There's never going to be any shortage of opportunities. Something will come to you. Rest easy, rest assured that everything is going to work out okay. Remember, you do have your angel here. You do have your guardians here looking out for you. So it's important for you to tap into that angelic energy. Okay? All right, you guys, lots to talk about. So hopefully I'll see you on the website. But if not, then I will see you next month. All right, thanks so much. Take care.